Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Frog Brothers Podcast. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube. And if you're listening on the audio feed on Spotify or Apple or Twitcher or wherever you listen, tell your friends and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/thefrogbros. Hit us up on Instagram at Frog Bros Podcast, on Twitter at bros_frog, on TikTok at Frog Bros Podcast, and follow us on Facebook. Join our Facebook group Frog Bros Video by searching just that, Frog Bros Video. Hit request to join and you'll be approved. We have shirts available. The link is in our Instagram bio and below in the description. And you can find stickers on Etsy at Frog Bros, all one word. Additionally, if you'd like to give us a call and leave a voicemail soon, our Patreon will be live and we'll be posting monthly responses and reactions to the voicemails. Dial 816-832-5388. Welcome to the Frog Brothers Kaijuvision.
Hello and welcome to Kaijuvision with the Frog Brothers Podcast. Tonight's feature film is the movie Cloverfield.
From 2008, directed by Matt Reeves.
Produced by J.J. Abrams.
Which, this is so often accredited to J.J. Abrams.
People confuse him as being a director when he's really just a producer.
Well, he's a director too, but he produced this. Didn't direct it, but I've always associated it with it being directed by him, and it wasn't. Matt Reeves directed it. He was directing the new Batman, which gives me interesting hope. So, it was written by Drew Goddard, who wrote World War Z and The Martian also. Some other interesting movies. I don't love World War Z.
World War Z, the movie, is complete trifling garbage compared to the book. The book is really well done and would be an amazing TV series.
I do like The Martian, though.
Yeah. Yeah, The Martian was good. That's great.
Yeah, you've got an interesting cast here, too. Rob is your central main character, even though you aren't listening to his voice as much. It's kind of like him. Really, it's him and HUD.
Yeah, which
who's
is played
T.J.
by
Miller.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody knows T.J. Miller from, if nothing else, fucking everybody saw Deadpool.
Yeah,
he's in a bunch of stuff. What's that? Silicon Valley he's in.
Yeah.
He's in
Office Christmas Party. He's in a bunch of stuff.
In the Yogi Bear movie.
Got a bunch of stand-up comedy specials and shit. Yeah, so
he was canceled for a minute for something. I don't remember what, though.
Yeah, he seems to have bounced back okay from that, apparently.
Yeah, I don't think it was a really bad thing, but I don't remember what it was at this point. Beth, which is the woman that you see throughout the movie in the tapes that he's going to look for the whole time. That's the plot of the movie. It's played by Odell Yespin, who was in Kindergarten Cop, oddly enough.
As a child?
As a child.
That's a fun fact.
Yeah.
A little fun fact for you there.
Jason is played by Mike Vogel, he's Rob's brother. I recognized him immediately because I've watched other movies and recently that one that he was in specifically, which is the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He's one of the teens who gets massacred. He gets his legs chopped off with a chainsaw and then hung up on a meat hook. And so that's pretty cool.
Sounds like the meat
He's
industry.
also in the Poseidon, which is the remake of the Poseidon Adventure.
Yeah.
He's in that with Kurt Russell, and Richard Dreyfuss is in that too. It's kind of interesting. Could be a better movie, but either way. Lily is played by Jessica Lucas. She's in the 2013 Evil Dead. We already talked about HUD. Marlena is Lizzie Kaplan, who we also know from a lot of stuff. A lot of Seth Rogen and Judd Apatow stuff, as well as Party Down and Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah,
so.
She's pretty well known.
Also, she's in something a lot topless.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
She's also in The Night Before, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
I like her. So it's basically found footage, and it's interesting how it opens up with all this government
basically it shows you
property footage.
Yeah, the government basically added their watermark to the beginning of this tape to show that it's their research or archival copy of this shit.
Yeah, it says multiple sightings of case designate Cloverfield. Camera retrieved at incident site LJS or whatever it says 447 area formerly known as Central Park. And you're like, immediately, obviously, that spark interest in you. They're like, oh, that was just Central Park then.
Yeah, it's in Central Park. It's in New York City. Like, this is like Godzilla. Where's a Matthew Broderick?
This obviously very much feels like a
version
of that movie.
It feels like a better version of that movie, to be quite honest with you, with the smaller creatures that you get in this and the large-scale creatures.
Yeah, I think the first, 2 acts of that Godzilla 98 are pretty good, actually, to be honest with you. And I think that the third act is where it just falls completely fucking short and implodes on itself. But
yeah, they just try to do too much, and it just didn't really pan out as well. It wasn't as much fun.
Yeah. I have a special place because I was young when that came out, too. I was 7, so it's like, what do you want from me? I saw it in theaters. I remember all the marketing. But I do recognize that it's not great. But as someone who's got into Godzilla somewhat recently and kaiju stuff in general, it's just interesting. But definitely the New York kaiju vibes. You're obviously calling back to something that happened 10 years before this movie, which is crazy to think that this movie is closer to Godzilla 98 than it is to us now.
Yeah, it is.
That's fucking nuts.
And this is interesting. Well, anytime you get kaiju in New York, there's so much going on with it, right? And that's the beautiful thing of it. You're carrying on, and it's very iconic, right? So much scenery there that you all recognize and you know.
Yeah. So the movie's kind of bookended and as well as interrupted randomly because it's a found footage, and they were recording over something, essentially, for the movie itself. So that's bookended by Rob and Beth and just other random shit that's left on the camera, mostly Rob and Beth.
Yeah, it's they're kind of like they're on a vacation, like having a good time at the beginning.
They're not even on a vacation. They're just at her dad's apartment in New York.
Oh, yeah.
And that they were apparently fucking in there.
Yeah.
And then he's filming her and being weird and goofy, and it feels very much like the movie that came out the year after, like Paranormal Activity, where they're just like, look, here's 10 minutes of some character development, even though it's not really much character development. It's just like, look how much this guy likes this chick, but then is going to be weird about it.
Yeah.
You almost, I'm not going to lie, you get invested by the point that the monster first shows up. You're invested in their emotions and who these people are enough that you're like, oh shit, there's a monster showing up. What's going to happen with all this situation here, though?
Yeah, they do a good job of the build-up, which I think works out well, right? You
definitely, yeah.
See that you learn that your character is going to get ready. He's getting ready to leave, right? He's going to leave and take a job overseas. So, do this video like a wedding? So, they explain, why they're taping this, right?
Yeah.
Kind of give you a reason why. So without it being a wedding, which a wedding would have been a really cool interruption by a monster movie too. I think you would have had a little bit more insight to splitting that couple up. That could have been really cool. But
so it shows some random clips and goes to May 22nd, and that's when they're doing a surprise party, which just gives me Big Daddy vibes. That's what I think of as New York City surprise party, and it's like a similar vibe with similar types of people. So that's funny. Rob's going to Japan for work, and I think, actually, isn't he going to Japan in that movie, in Big Daddy?
Yeah, I think so. There's some
That's fucking hilarious. Big Daddy meets Godzilla 98. Cloverfield.
You should see how close of an edit you can get to that movie by combining those two.
I could use footage from this, too. HUD creeps on Marlena a lot.
Yeah, again, you keep seeing him zoom in on her, and they're casual acquaintances at this point. He's aware of her, and
he clearly remembers her, and she's forgotten him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just kind of casual crush. He's like, oh, that's the chick I'm looking forward to flirting with.
Let's face it, he's probably spanked one off a few times thinking about her. You know what I mean? Some real creeper shit. This guy is unsettling.
Can I ask you a personal question?
What's that?
Does it flatter you when someone takes care of their personal business?
Of course.
Thinking of you? Okay.
Doesn't it to you? Even if it's,
I don't care who it is as long as it makes them happy.
Yeah. I assume that's what Nick is doing at home right now is spanking one off, thinking about being here with us.
Sure, he's just thinking about smelling our dead bodies.
That too. And genocide. Disney.
Yay.
And it's
reference episode 76 for these inside jokes.
What am I looking at? So Rob is upset because Beth showed up with the guy and everything.
Yeah, it's her new fling or whatever.
They give HUD the camera anyway at the beginning, so he'll follow everyone around and get the wedding. I said wedding, but it's like
the
a
wedding vibes. Like they go out of their way to explain that to you. You're like, hey, what do you have? Do you have a message for this person? You're like, it's the future. Like, you had the internet at this point. Like, you're never gonna be able to talk to this person again.
Future, Jack.
Yeah.
It's also Batman 89.
Mm-hmm.
Connected universe. Yeah. So the power goes out and on, kind of flickers for a minute. And there's a noise, and then they're looking on the news, and there's a possible earthquake and an oil tanker collapse or capsize.
Yeah, capsize is the term. Yeah.
Well, I couldn't tell what I wrote.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, I remember them referring to that specifically. And that's interesting, right? Because they just show that shit's going on, and could you imagine not having any idea what was going on the first time you watched this? Like, we kind of knew. Word of mouth spread pretty quick. I briefly knew. Yeah.
I didn't know how good it was, and I only watched it for the first time like 2 years ago, maybe. But I liked it. I bought it somewhat recently, and then we just decided to cover it. We've only done 2 episodes of Kaijuvision. This is number 3, and we're already doing Cloverfield. But hey, we're jumping around a little bit. We've done the original Godzilla versus Kong, which is more recent, and this is from 2008. So I don't know, pretty good range. Maybe we'll do some 70s Godzilla.
Yeah. A little time travel.
Always. So they go up to the roof, see explosions from the roof. The roof. I can't talk apparently. It's all shot it's supposed to be very realistic from the perspective of the camera, so it does kind of feel like you're there, and that's the vibe you're supposed to get.
Yeah. It works. This, for a found footage movie, like those a lot of people hate those because they give the audience like emotion sickness and stuff like that. This one starts out that way, but you kind of adjust to it, and yeah, there's some jerky camera footage on there, but for the most part, it's digestible, so you can like get through it, right?
Yeah, Blair Witch does that too, but it doesn't bother me as much as other people, especially if I like watch Blair Witch on this fucking small ass VHS.
Yeah,
like that would be a lot easier to do too.
Yeah, smaller screen and stuff like that, so it's not just like shaking your whole
brain around.
Yeah.
So then they go downstairs, go onto the ground floor, and they go into the street and see Statue of Liberty head flying. This is funny because this is one of the trailer shots, and the trailer and the marketing were super interesting for this movie. And the trailer was released, there was no title. I do remember seeing that in theaters and being like, there's no title. What the fuck? How are you going to plug your movie?
Yeah, and it almost feels like the footage at the beginning is just showing you like that's why it's called Cloverfield, and that's just something that was an afterthought, right? It just came.
I can't remember. There is a reason for it. It has to do with something. Something was called Cloverfield, and then they just were like, "Fuck it, we'll just call it Cloverfield."
Well, it's unique to name a monster movie after...
Statue of Liberty head was made several times larger than it actually is for the movie because in the trailer it was smaller and people thought it was way too small. But they don't. Really? But that's just because people think it's bigger in their heads. They imagine it's a lot bigger.
Well, the scale that you expect it to be, right?
Yeah.
And then Ghostbusters 2 didn't help level set anyone's expectations.
No, that's all I was thinking of the whole time. I was like, somebody get me the Ghostbusters.
And why aren't they already in the head?
Exactly.
Did they leave the Nintendo NES Advantage in there?
Then they go and hide out in a bodega.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty funny. HUD is like, it's alive. I saw it move. It's alive. It's alive.
Yeah, and there's that whole argument around that. And
the sounds for the monster are pretty cool and interesting. Very timely. The lack of a score is good. Sets the mood.
Yes, that keeps it consistent with what the found footage theme goes, right? Because that is one thing that's noticeably missing, but it works for this feature, right? So
this is also 7 years after 9/11, and very much has 9/11 fucking vibes of like the people on the street videos.
Yeah,
like they literally, I'm pretty sure they looked at videos like that and were like, let's make it look like that.
Yeah, because when you see some of the debris and dust and stuff coming down the streets, it's very reminiscent of that. So,
he rewinds on the tape to see the monster and shows them, and everybody is crowding around them and shit. They're trying to cross the Brooklyn Bridge to get out. Beth calls they kind of get separated on the bridge, and
yeah, that's where some chaos really ensues.
Fucking Jason gets killed, the guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's kind of one of those deaths that's you're not really expecting this, because you just have no idea.
You just kind of see. It's not like you see him necessarily even get killed per se, but it's like you see like a monster arm, tentacle, leg, tail, whatever the fuck it's supposed to be, dick. I don't know.
Yeah,
it swings over on the bridge. Swangs over the bridge. I mean, if it was the dick,
it was deadly.
That's pretty cool. I'm going to imagine that it is. I'm going to tell people that now. J.J. Abrams said that is the monster's dick. I'll tell people that and just pretend it's true. I'm going to edit this now.
And there's plenty of people that were dicked down by that monster's dong.
Including this guy from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was fucking knocked right out by that thing. He is a power bottom.
Superhero
for the Cloverfield monster. Yeah, they cross the Brooklyn Bridge. It collapses. They run the opposite way. They go into another electronics store or whatever, and then they're watching. HUD's watching it on the news while the other guy's like trying to get a battery for his phone, I guess is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing that kind of dates it, because it's like right before everyone had an iPhone.
Yeah.
Or, other smartphone, but really my phones at the time. And then he starts seeing the parasites falling off the monster on the news and shit, and attacking the fucking like news reporters and the military
people
and shit.
on the street and everything, yeah.
Rob finally hears Beth's voicemail because he gets his phone, and he's like, we're going after. He doesn't say that, but it's basically that vibe. I gotta do it. I can't leave her behind. I won't leave without her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He still has feelings.
They're caught between the military and the monster in an intense, like, again, 9/11 documentary. Like, that's how it feels. And then they're sneaking around through the alleyways and shit. And there's a fucking guy in the alleyway that's, like, talking gibberish. Not by gibberish, it's really offensive. He's speaking some foreign language that I don't know what it is.
Okay.
By gibberish, I didn't mean to really say gibberish. Don't fucking give me that look, you asshole.
No, sometimes you always judge me, so I can give you judging eyes sometimes.
I judge you for different things, not like this.
Hungry eyes.
So, they run into the subway. They decide to walk the tunnels. How many more times are we going to feel like this is Ghostbusters 2?
Plenty.
Plenty is right, because I literally have it written down, Ghostbusters 2, and also 2016.
Yeah. Subway vibes for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I got vibes on.
Those parasites are going to be the third scariest thing on that train.
Those parasites, and especially in the subway, had like Resident Evil 2 vibes to me. Resident Evil 2 and 3, like when you're on some of those places. So, the video game, not the actual movies, to clarify. But I like that. Like it's good scenery. It's scary enough that
Probably in one of the trains above us.
They're as big as beavers.
I think it was just a bad writing for the quick little scene there where he says, she says something about Superman, and he says, "You know who Superman is?" Like, you know what water is? Like, you know what human? You know what English is? Welcome to Earth, Mr. Alien. Like, I don't know, it's just a weird thing. Are you? And then she kind of mocks him. I get what they're trying to do with it.
Yeah,
she's like, "Oh yeah, you like Superman? I'm feeling something. Are you aware of Garfield?" She says. Then he's talking about lighting the homeless people on fire and shit in there.
Yeah, there's some interesting shit going on in there that you're
it's
like,
a weird dialogue.
Fuck? Yeah,
or you're like, I don't know if I like this person or these people in general, really, or give a fuck. So.
Well, I mean, they're convey the point of like how terrible humans can be, especially when it comes down to survival, and like how quickly people are willing to sacrifice someone else for their own fucking survival. So.
Then they see the rats running.
Yeah,
aren't you smart enough to realize when you see rats running, run faster, run fucking, go, move, and they're always like, "Ooh, I wonder what the rats are running."
Yeah, if you see rats running, that means go away, because the rats, at least in the movie's typical sense, is that they...
Even the fucking guy in Titanic, when the Titanic is flooding and the rats are running up the hall, he's like, "I'm following the rats."
Yeah, smart.
And that's
person.
in 1912. You've had 100 years to get your shit together.
Not these people.
I guess close to 100 years. Oh, let's see. Where am I at? Oh, yeah. They used night vision on the camera to see the parasites, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, those.
And then they have to fucking run, and there's the whole attack. One tries to drag Hud away, and then Marlena gets fucked up by one.
Yeah.
Then they're in the department store, and what does this remind you of?
Terminator.
I have it written
down. The department store there, the dark
department
lighting,
store, Terminator. Yeah. Like it's that's the vibe I get there too. And
it just gives the vibes. This thing, I
expected to see Kyle Reese slip on a Nike and
but the fact
Velcro
that it's found footage like makes it work for me, like ripping off all this stuff because it's different context with the way being found footage. So I give it a pass for all that stuff.
And they run into the makeshift hospital.
Yeah.
And Marlena's sick. She's like bleeding out of her eyes, basically.
Yeah, and they're like, "Hey, we got to get her away."
Yeah.
They fucking argue with her.
Like, we got a bite! Apparently she was bitten, so then she goes behind a curtain and basically explodes.
Yeah, fucking blows up. So they don't really explain what that is or what causes that, but it's terrifying.
Yeah. Kind of rules.
Yeah. That's one of the highlights in there, because like you have, again, it's another one of those things, like when you have your first death, you're just like, whoa. Because you just really don't know what's going to go on.
Right. Well, you've had some other deaths, but you haven't had one that's like that gruesome necessarily. It's just kind of like getting crushed by an animal arm or whatever, or dying on a bridge is something that happens in reality. Not the monster part, but just like being crushed by shit.
Yeah, but so getting bit by something and exploding.
And bleeding out your eyes and shit is a little more horrifying.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like they combined the speech from George Clooney at the end of From Dusk Till Dawn. Do psychos explode when sunlight hits them?
Yeah. Psychos do not explode when sunlight hits them. I don't give a fuck how crazy they are.
Exactly.
Yeah, the military, they talk him into letting them go. He's like, well, at 6 a.m., there's a helicopter. And you got to get to this fucking helicopter because they're saying goodbye to Manhattan. And they get to Beth's place, and it's the fucking building that is no longer quite standing, but it's crooked and leaning on another building.
Mm-hmm.
They decide to climb the building that it's leaning on and cross over from the roof. Which is, I don't know, fairly interesting scene.
That whole concept, though, is like Resident Evil 2, the game where, like, okay, you've got a timer before we're going to nuke this place.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get the fuck out of here because
very much.
Didn't go as
the
planned.
Crazies is that way, too.
Yeah.
There's lots of stuff.
But it works. It really helps develop that sense of urgency of what the fuck they're trying to do here.
Yeah, they get her, though. Then they rescue her.
Yeah.
They get the fuck out of there. She's, like, impaled on a steel rod or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, you're about to get impaled on this steel rod. And then I'm going to fuck your steel rod wound.
I was just waiting for you to say that, you sick bastard.
Yeah.
Wow.
You sick bastard. Let's see.
You got so caught up on talking about fucking an impalement hole.
At least I have fucking notes.
Yeah,
don't even get on to me. Lily gets on the chopper, and she's safe. The chopper flies away. She lives. But it kind of like, as soon as it's not even, it's hard to, like the editing and stuff, I guess it's the found footage vibe of it. It's hard to tell that that's what's happening. You kind of almost forget she exists.
Yeah.
At this point. Then they get on the chopper. Get to the chopper. How'd they say it? And
they're not so lucky.
No, they're not. They crash in Central Park.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Shitty way to go.
Hood is fucking picked up by the monster and killed.
Yeah.
Which is one of the one of the more unseen things. You don't expect him to necessarily get killed off.
No, he's been the cameraman the whole time, so...
It's logical, though, to kill him right there at the end of the movie, though. Like, the other guy takes the camera for a bit, but...
Yeah, well, it makes sense. That's how they find the camera in this situation, right? Is that this guy gets killed, and, like, that's his legacy he left behind.
Yeah. They go and hide under one of the little bridges in Central Park. And then the sirens going off and the explosions and all that shit.
Very much 9/11 vibes again, like Rogue One vibes. Like, yep, here it comes. Mm-hmm. Go off into the sunset.
Basically.
Or like SPF 5000. I just want to quote Terminator 2 at that point.
Yeah.
You're going to have a real bad fucking sunburn.
Oh, man. We got to cover that sometime.
Hell yeah.
Terminator movies. We'll have to do all of them, too.
Well, yeah, there's anything less would be uncivilized.
Unrealized
idea.
I need to get some, like, baby music.
When I yawn?
So when everybody's yawning, yeah. Can play baby music. But, yeah, and then it basically cuts away and shows the end of the footage when they are actually at Coney Island, because they had talked about it earlier. Yep. He's like, "You never been to Coney Island?" That was one of the first clips they showed. And then...
shows them, like, on a roller coaster, like, in a happy moment.
Is it a roller coaster, or is it like a Ferris wheel or something?
Oh, yeah, I guess it could be.
Because they're probably not filming themselves and eating ice cream on a roller coaster.
Yeah, that's true.
And he's like, "How about you put that ice cream down and slop on something else on this fucking Ferris wheel?" I've watched a lot of Ferris wheel porn. Have you?
I've never seen Ferris wheel porn.
Really? There's a lot of European porn with chicks blowing dudes on Ferris wheels. I guess you're not into, like, exhibitionism.
I don't mind these things, but I just never found that category yet. So, is this what you do
when I'm not here?
When I'm not here,
of course, I abuse myself.
Oh God!
I also, basically, the Statue of Liberty had Escape from New York, motherfucker.
Yeah, Escape from New York, Planet of the Apes vibes. Like,
yep.
So many things there.
There is actually images from King Kong in this, as well as the Beast from 20,000 Fathoms and Them, with the exclamation point. Old 50s sci-fi and shit. And, well, King Kong's not, but, it's 30s. But there's, like, brief frames interjected, kind of like in Fight Club, what Tyler Durden talks about doing.
Burns that you notice in that movie. When you start seeing Tyler spliced in throughout the film.
Interesting things critics have noted about this. There's almost no... In fact, there are, as far as I can tell, no children or elderly people in New York City at this time. It's only pretty much eligible bachelors and young women and military. But that's, it's just one of those things. Like, you don't want to... Shooting a movie like this, you don't want to have to put kids in the movie.
Well, because
you're filming a movie at night and all that kind of shit, too.
Yeah, there's a whole lot, even for extras.
Dangerous movie, too.
There's a whole insurance. Yeah, there's so many layers on that.
Trying to film with that style and everything, there's no need to. I don't think that's a fault of the movie. That is an interesting thing of note.
That's noteworthy and interesting because of that, but it doesn't...
T.J. Miller, this is like his first big break, and he was chosen because he could improvise.
Yeah.
Almost all of his dialogue is basically just like, this is what needs to happen, do it. And he would, like, egg on the other characters and encourage dialogue and shit. So, it's pretty
cool. That's interesting to know.
I have more respect for him after hearing that.
Yeah, for sure.
He, like, fucking carried this movie.
Yeah.
And he actually did carry the camera a lot of the time, not always, but, like, he was sometimes operating it, so. I'm sure that when they wanted certain sequences and action sequences done certain ways, obviously he was not on the camera, but...
which I think adds to its authenticity, right? So I think, you've got that level of ad-lib and play there, and knowing that he held the camera on that. Because they could have easily just overdubbed almost all of his entire characters to dialogue.
There's a sound designer who worked on this called Douglas Murray.
Any relation to William?
No. However, he does have a relation to David Lynch in that he was the sound designer for Twin Peaks also. Oh. And used sounds he had recorded from that on this movie. So there's Twin Peaks sounds in this movie.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Pretty prolific sound designer, though, too. So
yes. The end voice says it's still alive.
Yep.
And that's J.J. Abrams. And that's my notes on this movie. Overall, I really like it.
It's fun. It's one of those I think I could watch again. It's not one I want to watch all the time, but every now and again, I think it's one that you're like, yeah, throw that on because it's interesting. It's not your run-of-the-mill movie. They don't overly focus on...
Well, it's short enough, too. It's like a solid 90 minutes or whatever, basically, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think it's longer than that. Man, it doesn't say on here. Yeah, it does. 84 minutes. So it's like nice and sweet and short to the point. Like there's no point where you're really super bored unless you're just bored at the beginning before the monster shows up, if you're just like anticipating that. But
the other piece to consider on this is like with this being found footage and like shaky cam,
which they've done Cloverfield sequels.
Yeah.
Which are not sequels. It's hard to explain their weird universe of how that shit works. But
yes, it's very...
I haven't watched the other ones, and
are there two?
They're not found footage ones.
No, they just kind of in the same universe.
There's a fan film that came out like last year that has two of the, I think the survivors, the people who survived this are in it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, actually the actors too.
There's 13 Cloverfield Lane, which is technically in the universe with this.
Yeah, there's the Cloverfield Paradox.
Yeah,
space one, and then there's another one. Or is it just those two? I don't even know.
Yeah, interesting stuff, but just, that could spawn this. And the thing that I think works so well in this is you don't have an overabundance of monster footage, right? You're not focused on that.
People like to think that Super 8 might even be in the same universe.
Yeah.
Which I actually, in my head canon, I don't mind thinking that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the first appearance of the monster. This is your second one. I'm good with that. Works for me because that movie has a lot of in-camera stuff too, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Because the kids are making a fucking zombie movie.
Yeah. And that's just fun when you have those kinds of concepts.
Yeah.
So
I think that movie's a little underrated. It was a little early for that like trend of style of movies, but even the poster art, they replicated it. We could do that for Kaijuvision, even though it's not technically it's a giant monster. It's not like super giant though. But if King Kong is a kaiju at his smallest, then that could count.
Yeah, I was going to say, technically, yeah, I would say that you're qualified there based on that, right?
Yeah.
All right, well, that's our discussion on Cloverfield. Jump in the comments. Let us know what you think. Mm-hmm. Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? Can you stand found footage movies?
Do they make you sick?
Do they make you sad? Do they make you happy? Do they make you mad?
Do you think about his penis?
Do you talk like Alec and think about using the...
I was quoting Crash. Cronenberg's Crash, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, not that other one.
What does she say? She says something. I can't remember the dirty talk she says to James Spader when they're fucking, and she's like talking about how she wants him to blow Elias Koteas.
Yeah.
As Casey Jones. Exactly. Your instruct is Casey Jones, he said to James Spader. Well, he was the bottom in that scene too, though.
That's fine.
So, I don't know. Maybe they still blew each other, hopefully. Either way, thanks for listening to the Frog Brothers Podcast. Like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe for more trash with trifling opinions superimposed where needed.